I want to thank you once again for joining me on another video. This video is not about making money £100 to a house challenge. I want to touch on something that's happening in society today with someone that we all know as Kanye West. For the rest of this video, I'm going to honor him by calling him by his name change, Ye. So when you hear me say Ye, you know it's Kanye West. I'm just making a point of it by calling him the name he wishes to be called out of respect. The first thing I want to say is, did Ye say anything wrong on Drink Champs? And the answer is no. He didn't say one thing anti-Semitic. He didn't say one thing anti-Jew. As a matter of fact, if you watched the video, because I don't think it's up on Drink Champs anymore, but you may be able to find a copy somewhere on YouTube. But if you watch the video, you would hear Ye saying these words, I am Jew too. Logically, if you include yourself in something, you cannot be anti that something. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to prove to you, that if you say that a black man cannot be Jew, that is anti-Semitic. If you say a black man cannot be Jew, that is anti-Semitic. If you are a white Jew and you say only white people can be Jew, that is anti-Semitic. I'm going to run a video. And after this video, I'll get back to you.
Africa has perhaps hundreds of millions of people with this identity right now of being from the people of Israel. Does that mean they were from the 10 tribes? Likely not. We were taught by the historians and within our own traditions that when the Romans conquered Judea a few hundred years after that the tribes of Israel went into exile, perhaps millions of Judeans were sold into slavery, into Africa, into Rome, deep into Africa. And if you look now, you're seeing people who are most likely the descendants of those slaves who kept true. I like to bring up a few specific examples because they're going to be game changers. One of them wrote letters to Israel when it became a state. And they said, we're Israelites out in Africa. You know, everyone laughed at them and they said, African Israelites, these people are just trying to jump on the first world country bandwagon. They're living in a third world country. They got nothing. We're coming to Israel. We got innovation, technology. So they're trying to get on this train because there's such a thing called the right of return. All descendants of the Jewish people from around the world are able to move to Israel. So they said we are also. And everyone kind of laughed at them, like I said. And a few people took it serious and went out there and started studying them, learned about their culture. And a professor from Duke University went out there and did DNA testing on them. And he showed not only do they share Semitic genes from people who were in Yemen and back to the Middle East, these gentlemen, a large percent of them, have the Y chromosome to be Kohanim, to be priests. Now, if anyone who doesn't know, a priest is a specific family clan of the nation of Israel who come from Aaron, the brother of Moses, who was the first priest. And anyone descended from Aaron has the status title priest. And we found that these men in this village in South Africa called Lemba, L-E-M-B-A, carry this genetic marker to let us know that they share the same as from the Sephardic and the Ashkenaz and the population of the people in Israel today. They share the same exact DNA marker. That's mind-blowing. So everyone kind of got humbled a little bit who laughed at them and said, now what? Now what do we do about this? This could have tremendous implications. Another area in Africa you have something big happening is in Nigeria. You have the Igbo people, or Igbo, pronounced either way. There's 40 million of them, also Christians, like I spoke about before, how that could happen to the children of Israel very easily. But also a lot of them are now coming out and converting back or adopting the rules of the Torah without all the paganism that they've been practicing for hundreds of years. There's been books written about it from scholars in Nigeria, from scholars from the Jewish people, And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. So what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on. We know that some of the greatest sages of the transmission of the Torah were converts from Rome. You have a man named Onkelos who wrote a commentary on the Torah, unprecedented, that we still learn today. He was a convert. Some of the largest pillars on the transmission today were Roman converts. So here we are, we're Caucasian Jewish people, and now you have people in Africa saying that they're the real people of Israel. It can't be ruled out at all.
I want you to think about something. If Jesus is black, and the Bible only felt it necessary to mention that in Revelations, it's probably because he was no different to everybody else. Before we get into what was said in the video, I want to point out one thing. This book is the Bible. Now, in this Bible, it depicts, as everybody already knows, that Jesus was Jew. Jesus was not Christian. Jesus was a Jew. He was born into a Jewish family and into a Jewish society. Jesus is a Jew. And in this book, Revelations, you can Google it. This is not a religious video, right? I need you to understand that I'm not coming at you religiously. I'm just trying to open your eyes to something, okay? So in this book, there are at least 4 black people that are Jew. One, namely Jesus, because his hair is like wool and his skin is like burnt brass. Now, if you know what brass looks like, burn it and you get my tone. If I take my hair out, it's woolly like wool. So Jesus looked like me. Not only did Jesus look like me, if Jesus looked like me, this is the book. If Jesus looked like me, so did Mary. So did Joseph. So did Jesus' brother. Oh, you forgot he had a brother, right? So there is 4 black people in this book. There are many, many more. This is before colonialism, Islam. This is way before all of that. This book, for some reason, tells you the past, present, and the future. And this book not only has the 4 black Jews that I just mentioned to you, it also tells us that in Egypt, and if you're stupid, you'll say Egypt is not in Africa or run by Romans. I've got friends that tell me Romans run Egypt. Egypt is in Africa, run by black people. You will see on the walls in the tombs depictions of black people as Pharaoh. You will also see the Sphinx with the noses blown off. I am sorry. I don't care if you blow those noses off. The fact that there's a big crater in the face of a Sphinx, that's a big old nose. I know that's my nose. Yeah, you can blow it off if you like, but that big old hole, ain't no way that's a white nose that you blew off. The Egyptian pharaohs were black. Who else was black that lived with the Egyptian pharaohs? Do you want to take a guess? Moses. In the very book, it tells us Moses was raised by a pharaoh of Egypt. They always try to rewrite history. They are black people. If the pharaoh is raising a child and the child is not his, but everybody else can see this child and assume that this child is his, then Moses was also black in Africa. living with the pharaohs, a black couple. How did everybody not know if it was a white child that the white child didn't belong to the pharaoh? If you think I'm talking a whole load of nonsense, go read your Bible again, and I'm going to play the next video. And I want you to listen closely to what this gentleman has to say.
So you all have a history, a long history of where you started and began.
Yep.
And where you migrated across.
Yep.
Now, I know that there has been some talks about the validity of being one of the tribes of Israel.
Yep.
And I know there have been those who've come into Africa, whether it's doing research or checking with you all's story, trying to see whether or not they could debunk whether or not the story is true or not. But they find that it's true that you all have a long history, a lineage
Yes.
of being, the tribe of Israel.
Yep. Look, it's common when such an interesting story comes up for people to doubt it, and others outright dismissed it, and others came to verify. And part of those who came to verify came and did DNA, selecting people from the Lemba tribe. And we were genetically tested, and it came out that we possess a Kohanim gene prevalent in male Lemba that is more concentrated than Jews from Europe, for example. So that put paid to those who doubted our story. Now they are no longer claims. It's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, there's talks that whether the Igbo or the Yoruba over in Nigeria, Cameroon area, to the west of Africa, are also have some connection with the Bantu language. And do y'all speak the Bantu language?
Yes. Originally, our language was always Hebrew.
It was Hebrew.
And Aramaic. But when we settled in here, we adopted the language of the people we lived among.
If you have any sort of natural hue, go and do a DNA test and see if you have the same Y chromosome. Because a lot of you don't know who you are. I am not a Hebrew Israelite. I stumbled across their teachings, I think, say 5-6 years ago, and I tried to do some research. The one flaw, everything they said I agreed with apart from one thing. See, Americans or African Americans are too quick to separate themselves with the rest of the world. You call yourself Africans Americans, but you don't go to Africa. Make that make sense. You have no connection. You're waiting for people to come and say, come back with us. Makes no sense. You know what they're doing to Africa. You see the image that they're pushing out to you. If anyone's going to change anything, it's going to be Africans in the diaspora. Because we are well aware of what they're doing and the outcomes of what they're doing to Africa. But without digressing too much, the problem I have with the Hebrew Israelites is that they separate themselves from Africans. They call themselves the chosen people, but they're from West Africa. And unless they actually think somebody like the slavers or whoever was capturing the slaves went to the beach of Africa and started reading out Hebrew names, how can you say you're different from the people that were taken? That is annoying, and that's where they lost me. Now I can understand the rhetorics about anti-Semitism when referring to the Hebrew Israelites, because they say they are the real Jews and the people in Israel are not. Now that is a problem. You can class that as anti-Semitism. But if someone says, I am Jew too, it's like me saying, I'm a Chinese guy. Does it sound like I hate China? Does it sound like I'm against them? Or does it sound like I admire them and I want to be like them? That's Ye is saying he has a similarity to these people. He is also Jew. So therefore, he wants to speak to all his Jewish leaders. Can you please sort out these contracts? Essentially, what they're doing is treating Ye as if he was a whistleblower for telling the truth. But everything Ye said, we have been knowing. It's been in the music for years. It's been in the music videos. It's also been in the movies, how most leaders are of the Jewish origin or connected to Jew or Israel. It's always been like that. For someone to say, I am one of you, you cannot call them anti. That's a rhetoric I cannot follow. For the fact that even after the video on Drink Champs happened, Adidas now wants us, normal people, to engage in the activities that they and others like them have got the Senate to pass a law on. The very reason you can't go to Alibaba and buy some Adidas from Alibaba and try and sell that shit like, yeah, I can make it cheaper than the store, is because it's fraudulent. Right? They deemed it so. I mean, it's still a shoe. It just has 3 stripes on it. You can't say it's Adidas or Adidas, whatever the situation is, because they will sue you. But now, for something that someone hasn't done wrong, they are now willing to still contribute to selling Ye's products without crediting Ye. They are punishing someone for saying the right thing, and they're also stating that they will fraudulently sell his products. If it ain't Ye doing it, it ain't Ye's product. So it's fake. So now Adidas, like, I buy Adidas because they support hip hop. I've always bought Adidas. Most of my trainers are Adidas or Vans. I don't buy Nike. I don't wear Jordans. I don't want my foot to look like a rhino foot. Hence the reason why I haven't even bought none of the Ye's. I will refuse to buy any more Adidas products. Period. If you guys do Ye like that, we need to start using what we have to make a point to these fools. Because today it's Ye, a billionaire. Tomorrow it's your uncle, your cousin, your brother, your son, your daughter, your mother. Someone who's designing, killing themselves in Adidas and these other companies. And before you know it, they'll fire them and continue their designs. Is that fair? It's not fair. Someone made you 1.7 billion for 4 years straight, and you're going to open your mouth and cancel him and then tell us you're going to sell his products without his name attached to it. You're fraudulent. You're a fraud, and I don't like you. I will never buy another music industry song again. I'm never going to buy an album again, nor am I going to buy a single until these leaders, I don't care where, what denomination they are, which religion they're attached to, start doing proper contracts for these people. I think we need to start making sure that these people understand. All these music industry CEOs, I wouldn't even call them Jewish. Everything they're doing is not kosher. There's not one kosher thing about the industry. Constantly telling you what's up is down, what's down is up. Confusing everybody. The industry is doing this. There's nothing Jewish about it. A real Jew. Excuse me, yes, you may go to the synagogue, right? You may have some family members that are actually practicing. But if you're a CEO of one of these companies, your company is not kosher. It's not even Jewish. I'll tell you what they remind me of. When I used to go to church, they used to have this message. Don't be a Sunday person. You know, the kind of person that goes to church on a Sunday, but Monday to Saturday, they're doing some sinful shit. This is exactly who I see at the top. If your children won't sign up for them contracts, you know you're doing something wrong. And if you know you're doing something wrong, they ain't Jewish. Go and Google these videos from different artists in different eras. It's been going on for millennia. So if you support truth, you need to refrain from the industry. You need to refrain from Adidas. You cannot allow these people to continue telling those people who are informing us of the truth to be quiet. How can you say something that has nothing to do with your business ventures and you don't even say anything wrong, and your business ventures, something that you've put your life and dedicated to, they want to just take away because they feel like it? I can't call myself Jew. I eat kosher food. My child's name is Jewish. I can't call myself Jew. What if I do that DNA test and blow your mind? No one should have that power. The people who actually should have the power is us. Consumers. You choose where you want your money to go. I see some of you fools still buying Gucci. You're buying Gucci after they told us we were monkeys not so long ago. In this decade, you're buying Gucci? I see fools in Gucci all the time. How quickly people forget. How can you buy and support Gucci? Over and over again, they keep telling you you're a monkey and you're buying it. I see little baby Gucci all over the place. Nigga, do you know that there are other designers that you can buy? If you have money and it's long, why don't you make your own clothes? These people don't like you. They like your money. Every decade, there is proof of brands who don't care about black people, yet we're the ones who's funding them. I, for one, am in 100% support of Kanye West. And if he decides to open up his own Ye store, put his music in there, put his clothes in there, put his shoes in there, man, I don't buy them shoes, but I'm buy them shoes. I'm going to support this guy. And I choose to do so with my own funds. And if you choose to do so with your own funds, maybe these fools will start to understand and realize that they need to do things fair. How many country artists do you hear complaining about their contracts and how much they're earning? How many? I've said enough. I'm going to get back to business. But I need you guys. Put your money where your mouth is. If you don't feel right by a certain thing, refrain from it. Know who you are. If you know where you're coming from, you know where you're going. That's a saying everybody knows. But if you know who you are, no one can tell you any different. I'll see you in the next video.
Lucas Arts, MSNBC, DreamWorks Animation. Now, the thing is, I skipped over maybe about 5 of them because it was just unclear on this list. The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies.